UT Austin demands proof of legal status, what undocumented students need to know. Imagine being told that your future at a university depends on revealing sensitive details about your legal status. This is the unsettling reality unfolding at the University of Texas at Austin. But here's where it gets controversial. The university has recently sent out official letters demanding that students prove their lawful presence in the United States, raising serious questions about privacy, rights, and the future of undocumented students pursuing higher education. On July 11, a letter obtained by KVUE informed affected students that they must submit proof of their legal status by July 24. Acceptable documents include a valid U.S. passport, an unexpired green card, or a current visa. This move comes after the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, on June 18, directed colleges to identify which students are undocumented. The goal? To determine who should pay in-state versus out-of-state tuition for the upcoming 2025-26 academic year. This initiative is rooted in the now-defunct Texas DREAM Act, which until June 4 allowed eligible undocumented students to pay in-state tuition. However, the Federal Department of Justice has stated that the act conflicts with federal law, creating a legal gray area. The university's letter warns that if students cannot provide proof of their lawful status, their classification will shift from in-state to non-resident, resulting in higher tuition fees and potentially affecting financial aid. Interestingly, universities generally do not track student citizenship status as part of their routine records. KVUE reached out to UT Austin for comment about the letter and how the information will be used, but the university declined to respond. This development has sparked concern among students and advocates. Immigration attorney Vi Nanthavath emphasized that students' rights should be protected under FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, which generally prevents schools from sharing immigration data with federal authorities unless legally required. She pointed out that there is room for legal debate over whether this new requirement constitutes a compelling legal reason to disclose such information. Importantly, students who lose their in-state status should have the opportunity to appeal, especially if their immigration situation changes or if the university's records are outdated. When KVUE inquired about the process of submitting documentation, officials from the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board clarified that while the data collection is happening, schools are not obligated to report this information back to the board. Amid growing fears of deportation, Nanthavath advises students to gather whatever documentation they can and to be fully aware of their rights. She acknowledges the difficult position many students find themselves in, saying, "It's incredibly hard to tell someone, don't pursue your education because you're afraid of deportation." Yet, she also questions the morality of encouraging students to study while risking potential legal consequences, asking, how do you tell someone, go to school to build your future, but you might be risking deportation? This situation raises a fundamental question: should students be forced to choose between their education and their safety? And what are your thoughts on the university's approach? Do you believe these measures are justified, or do they infringe on students' rights? Share your opinions in the comments. This is a debate that touches on fairness, legality, and human dignity. Texas undocumented students now face out-of-state tuition hike. What you need to know. ***A significant shift in policy is shaking the foundations of higher education for undocumented students in Texas. Following a federal lawsuit, these students will now face the burden of out-of-state tuition fees, a stark change from the previous arrangement that allowed them to pay in-state rates. This development raises important questions about access to education and the future of many young individuals in the state. For more than 20 years, the Texas DREAM Act has provided a lifeline for undocumented students, enabling them to pay in-state tuition if they graduated from a Texas high school or earned a GED within the state. This policy has been a beacon of hope for many, allowing them to pursue their educational dreams without the overwhelming financial strain that out-of-state tuition can impose. Rick Harsel, the Vice Provost of Enrollment at West Texas A&M University, reassured students that they can still enroll at the university, regardless of their immigration status. However, they will now have to contend with significantly higher tuition costs. This in no way removes them or tells them that they cannot be a part of WAIT and continue their education, Harsel explained. It simply means that we need the further documentation so that they can demonstrate lawful presence. Even if they are unable to do so, they can still continue as a student at Wait. This change is not limited to West Texas A&M. All higher education institutions across Texas will be implementing this new policy. Bob Austin, the Vice President of Enrollment Management at Amarillo College, highlighted that the financial implications extend beyond just tuition increases. Many students will also find themselves ineligible for TASFA, a financial aid program designed for non-U.S. citizens. In order to qualify for TASFA, we have to be able to code you as in-state, so if you're coded as out-of-state, then you will not qualify for any TASFA funds, Austin stated. Despite these challenges, Austin emphasized that they are committed to supporting affected students on an individual basis. We have a lot of students who attend Amarillo College and pay out-of-state tuition. Even though students pay out-of-state tuition, it's still reasonable and reasonably inexpensive to attend a community college, he noted, suggesting that community colleges may still offer a viable path for many. Hassel encouraged students to reach out to their respective colleges or universities to understand how this change may impact them. If a student is affected, institutions will request specific documentation to verify their status. The simplest answer is the documents that the state of Texas requires to issue a Texas Real Driver's License ID are the same documents that are accepted to demonstrate lawful presence, he explained. But here's where it gets controversial. Is this policy change a step backward for inclusivity in education? As we navigate these changes, it's crucial to consider the broader implications for undocumented students and their ability to access higher education. What are your thoughts on this issue? Do you believe that education should be accessible to all, regardless of immigration status? Share your opinions in the comments. New federal changes impacting in-state tuition at Wait. Picture this, you're a college student budgeting for next semester, only to discover your tuition might skyrocket because of a single document you can't produce. That's the harsh reality hitting students nationwide, including at West Texas A&M University, due to a sweeping federal court mandate. Starting fall 2025, Wait must implement new eligibility rules for in-state tuition. Here's the critical shift: all students must now prove their lawful presence in the United States by presenting government-issued identification like a driver's license. If you can't provide this documentation, you'll immediately lose resident status and face substantially higher out-of-state tuition rates. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. While universities frame this as a compliance issue, critics argue such policies disproportionately affect marginalized groups. For instance, consider students from immigrant families with complex citizenship paperwork, or those experiencing bureaucratic delays in ID processing. Are we trading administrative simplicity for educational equity? Wait acknowledges the stress this creates. We're fully committed to supporting every student impacted by this ruling, emphasizes Rick Hassel, Vice Provost for Enrollment Management. He urges affected individuals to contact the Financial Aid Office immediately to discuss assistance programs and resources. Explore options here. https://www.wtamu.edu/student-support/financial-aid/index.html. This brings us to a pivotal question for you. Should universities bear responsibility for mitigating the real-world consequences of federal policies, or is this purely a compliance matter? Dive into the debate below. We're eager to hear where you stand on this charged issue.